Welcome back. Smoking and Toasting is the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and the shops at Clear Fork and Fort Worth. They also have BB Lemon and a brand new bar opening soon in the Houston area.
I can't wait to check that out.
Jeremiah gave us a little bit of info on, and so as soon as that all comes together, we'll definitely be doing a show from there. Oh, very nice. Now, Ian is opening our next tasting here, which is the Fremont Brewing Rusty Nail Barrel Aged 2019 release. While he is pouring, I want to ask some questions about the Poehler cigar family. It's not Poehler's not a name you traditionally associate with. Usually it's a name that you would associate more with with Hispanic heritage.
Yeah, as Jorge said, the Poehler dynasty.
The Poehler dynasty. There you go. So your dad got the family started in cigars, is that right?
Yes, he started around 1980 as an independent broker.
Which would have been how many years before the boom? When was the boom?
The boom
96.
began in about it peaked in 96. Yeah. It started around 92 and rose all the way up to 96, and it kind of crashed after 97. But he was in there, so he knows the history of the cigar industry, and it was very different in the 80s than it is today. The boom, we are still reaping the benefits of the boom. That was huge.
No question.
My father would go in a cigar shop, and they were small, and they had small humidors, and they primarily sold gifts and other items, and pipes, and pipe tobacco was a much bigger revenue generator than cigars were for them. And he sold a box of cigars in those days. He said it was a good visit. And if he sold 2 boxes, it was a great visit. If it was 3 boxes, he's calling my mom, and they're celebrating.
Nice.
It was a very different industry back then, but the boom came along and really grew. He needed some help and brought my brother Tom on in 1996. And Tom took to the business like a duck to water. He was very good at it. They grew their business even further, and my brother Ryan joined in 1999. After venturing out and trying my hand in the corporate world, I joined them in 2002 because at that point, in 2001, my father had gone in-house with Arturo Fuente. But in that span of time, and since then, we've worked with a wide selection of the best makers of cigars. We were talking Fuente. We introduced so many companies to the market. Fuente, La Gloria Cubana, Oliva, Camacho, CAO, Rocky Patel, Alec Bradley, Don Paping, Drew Estate, Aganor Salif. The list goes on and on and on that we've had the ability to work with.
Most of my favorite cigars.
Yeah.
EP Carrillo.
Yeah.
EP Carrillo, 3 times.
Yeah.
3 times. Yeah, La Gloria Cubana.
Uh-huh.
He was Ernesto's rep here when he was still making cigars in Miami. You go in some humidors. I'm meeting a new retailer, and we walk through the humidor, kind of explain what we've been doing for all these years. We'll walk through, and half the humidor might be cigars from companies that we help bring to the market in the first place.
That's so
of
awesome.
course, as an independent, they get large enough and decide to go in
They
house.
get their own sales force. Sure.
They get their own sales force, so we don't get to benefit from that forever.
Right.
But we're very proud of the companies we've worked with, and extremely proud of the companies that we're working with right now. We have some fantastic companies. We talked a little bit about vertically integrated companies, which I think is really the apex of the industry is when you have that kind of control over your production. And there's only a handful of companies that can really meet that definition I mentioned earlier, and we're working with 4 of them. Then we have Aladino Cigars that Tom represents. We have Aganor Salif that my brother Ryan represents, and I represent again La Galera and My Father Cigars, all vertically integrated companies that have that fantastic control and really, really good pricing because there's no middleman to jack up the prices on.
Yeah,
people.
we had such a good time when your brother Tom got us invited down to Honduras to the Aladino Cigars factory and fields, and it was just so great being able to see the business from seed to finished boxes of cigars.
You'll never complain about the price of a cigar again after you've seen that, will you?
Yeah,
in fact,
it's amazing.
In fact, you're amazed that you can buy a cigar for a great cigar for $8 or $9.
It's the reason 99+% of the cigars we smoke in this country are made in Honduras, Nicaragua, or Dominican Republic.
Right.
We couldn't afford the cigars that we had to pay American labor.
Right.
So it's so many hands that the tobacco goes through. I've heard different numbers, but it's hundreds of hands.
Well, that's there was a cigar line called 300 Manos.
300 hands, yeah.
300 hands that was made to represent that. It was that's apparently the amount of hands that it went through.
Oh, when you go from the nursery
Yeah.
to the field to the barn to the pre-industry to the sorting to the storing and aging to the rollers, finally to the boxes and into the stores. There's a lot of people that are involved in making a cigar.
No kidding.
Well, we enjoyed hanging out with your brother, and one of the most fun things about your brother and I'm noticing with you is talking about your family history in this. You guys are so steeped in the cigar culture, and it just comes so natural. And talking about your family and their involvement is such a beautiful thing.
Thank you. We're very passionate about the cigar industry. I've been an advocate for standing up for our rights for a long, long time. I served a couple years on the Texas Cigar Merchants Association board when we first started, and have always end up supporting, trying to support the industry two ways with all my events. I wrap them up with two public service announcements. One is to support your local store and buy locally. Let's keep it, keep your shopping dollars in Houston, and join the CRA. I think Alan
Cigar
mentioned
Rights
it
of America.
a little
Absolutely.
earlier. We have so many issues that we're dealing with. It's unprecedented, the challenges we have in this industry. And the consumers do have an avenue to get involved, and that's through the CRA, the Cigar Rights Association of America. It's a very small membership cost to get in. You will end up getting some free goods from it, which will pretty much cover the costs of membership. But we need numbers and we need dollars. These dollars go to trying to influence. I hate the government comes down to dollars, but we have to have people
That's the
that
reality.
we have to pay for to go and talk to these people and keep us abreast of the challenges that are going on. And the CRA does a very good job of that.
The people that are supporting this unnecessary regulation have money and lobbyists. And if we don't respond in kind,
Right.
we will lose this
And
challenge.
you can't have your general day job and still be out there lobbying like that to the degree that they're doing that. You have to actually have some people on the inside that are going in there, and that's a
we
big
haven't
part of it.
fought a statewide smoking ban in Texas since, I want to say, 2007 or 2009. And that's because of the hard work that the Texas Cigar Merchants Association and our international organization, formerly IPCPR, now the PCA, contributed greatly to that. And the manufacturers, too. So we've had lobbyists in Austin who kept us abreast of things before they got out of hand. We were able to go down and have certain influence and help them understand what we do and how we enjoy the cigars better. A lot of this legislation, I'm convinced, comes from sheer ignorance.
I
People
believe
who
that's
do
true.
not
Yeah.
understand what we do. We had
people who think that 16-year-olds are smoking premium cigars.
or all cigars are $25 and up, or all the
Right.
people sitting in a store are going to be wearing top hats or mafia bosses or something like that. It's not that way at all. It's
No,
a very
just
egalitarian hobby
that's
that
a
people enjoy.
Yeah.
One
It
day
really
I'm
is.
going to ask you for a favor.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. But, the Boom did a good job of really kind of rectifying that impression that people had of
Right,
cigars.
making it more of an everyday average person thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Wall Street tycoons or crooked politicians or mafia bosses who were smoking cigars. It was common people, everyday people who wanted to just sit back and relax with a cigar. And to me, it's the same thing as a woman or a group of women getting together over a bottle of Chardonnay. That's what. But this
Yes.
is for guys.
Yes.
It's
Right.
we commiserate, we laugh, we share together over cigars, and we should be left alone.
I'd be curious to if we went to Washington and went into every congressman, every senator's, every their chief of staff's offices, how many humidors are sitting on their desk?
I bet there's a ton of
Oh,
them.
A
yeah.
lot of them.
That's a great
I bet
hope
there's
of
a ton
mine.
of them.
I
Yeah.
think that now the FDA's moved the approval date to
Date,
May of
May.
next year.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's now the heat is on. We've been able to push this off. But now when we really have to make something happen, I think we're going to see a lot of movement. And some of these people may have to, they're being forced to show their hand at some point. And when you start messing with somebody's personal, favorite things to do, like smoke a cigar, I think they're going to stand up and say, you know what? This isn't necessary. FDA doesn't need to be messing with something that's 99% made in foreign countries in the first place. It's not addictive. You don't inhale cigars to have to enjoy them.
Very
It's-
different from cigarettes and
Yes.
vaping.
all that.
Yes,
It's impossible. I always say the FDA could put a team of people over a roller in Nicaragua and he can roll a cigar, put it here, roll a second cigar, and put it there, and they're not going to be identical.
Right, which is what
So
makes
what-
this whole approval process so tedious.
It is impossible
Yes.
for them. And plus, what business do we have of dictating what Nicaragua or Dominican Republic or Honduras are doing in their countries?
That's right.
And how many tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people in those countries are employed by this industry?
When we talk about this, I always like to make sure we tip our hat to a couple of people. One is Rocky Patel, who is tireless in his efforts to work this system to the best of his ability nationally on the federal level and to lobby for cigars. And the other is our friend Trey Boring, who works with the Cigar Rights of America. And Trey actually is working, and Trey, I know I owe you a phone call. I apologize that I haven't done it yet. But they're working on an event, if you're in the Houston area, that we will be a part of, that is going to be, I believe, in late September, that is designed as a fundraising event for Cigar Rights of America, and it's never been more important than it is now. It'll be a get-together. It'll be a smoke, and I believe it's going to be at B&B, so we'll bring you the details.
As a bonus, I mentioned that the two public service announcements. If you come to one of my events, if I'm doing a La Galera or my Father Cigar event or anybody else's event, when we're finished, and I make those two public service announcements, if you come with your CRA card, you will get another free cigar from me.
Nice.
Just for being a member of the CRA, a current
Nice.
member of the CRA.
One of your favorite commenters, Brian, just commented on here, and he made a valid point that no one has spoken about. The largest growing demographic for cigar smokers right now is women.
That is true.
Women cigar smokers are, you see them in shops. I can remember maybe 7 years ago, you wouldn't see a single woman that would come into a cigar shop and sit down. If you did, it wasn't very often. But now, it happens all the time. You've got more women owning cigar shops. You've got a lot of women as reps in the cigar industry, women that own cigar companies. And the women are some that need to get behind it too, because women are just as passionate about their hobbies as we are.
Absolutely.
I had to get a second humidor for my wife's cigars.
Well, that
She's a
says it right
keeper.
there.
I have
She's a
one.
keeper.
That says
My
it right
wife
there.
has one as well.
That says it right there.
You know, my wife's so funny because she'll be at a place and she'll smoke cigars, and she likes the smaller cigars generally, and especially if they come in a tin and you can put them in the purse. Like, she loves that that size of cigar, and she ends up buying, and these are premium hand rolled cigars. We're not talking about the machine-made cigars, but and she'll always have people coming up and asking her, well, what are you smoking? And she hands them out like here, try this. And she ends up being such a proponent of, here, have a cigar. It's an amazing thing. And the other thing about the whole cigar culture is, if you're out and about at a place and you see someone smoking a cigar and you're into cigars or not even that knowledgeable about cigars, go up and say, hey, what are you smoking? Instant conversation.
Absolutely.
And if you do that to me, if you catch me out somewhere, I almost always have a few extras. Here, have a cigar.
My dad told me a story about two people in a bar sitting next to each other at the bar smoking cigarettes. There's a damn good chance that they won't even talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
You take two pipe smokers, you can put them at either end of the bar. There's a fair chance that they will end up talking to each
Yeah.
other. But you take two cigar smokers at opposite ends of the entire bar, maybe even in different rooms,
We're talking.
they're going to talk.
They're gonna, yep.
If
It's a very, very social.
If I walk
hobby.
past somebody sitting on a park bench having a cigar, I will stop and ask what they're smoking because I'm curious.
Yeah.
It's part of that, and we've talked about this repeatedly on the show about the sort of fraternity that exists when you go into a cigar lounge and there's guys sitting there from every walk of life. It's so awesome seeing that they're just hanging out. They have the cigar in common, and that's all it takes.
Well, sitting here in the lounge, I'm looking over right across from us. There's 4 different guys. Maybe they know each other, maybe they not. I see one of the gentlemen. He's listening to everything we're saying. There's no telling how many.
And he
are
hasn't
over.
thrown anything yet. Which is a
so
bonus.
he's not disagreeing with us. There's no telling how many are over there. I know. I've sat in this lounge and talked to guys that were plumbers.
Right.
I've sat in this lounge and talked to guys that were billionaire finance guys.
Right.
We all have a camaraderie that this brings us together, and we need to support it.
Well, and I also love the diversity of the cigar community.
Sure.
There's I've smoked cigars with so many different people from so many different ethnicities and backgrounds, and what an awesome opportunity to learn about other people, other cultures, other ways of looking at life that you wouldn't get if you weren't sitting and having a cigar with them. And that kind of understanding, to me, does more to eliminate or reduce racism than anything else that you could possibly have.
Who doesn't?
Economic
differences,
educational differences.
Who doesn't like to tell the story about the first cigar that they enjoyed?
Right.
Like, every one of us has that story.
I forgot.
Except for Jason. Every
Did you
one
really?
of us
You don't
except
remember
for
the- you don't
Jason.
remember
I don't remember the first cigar. I remember the first one that made me go, whoa.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
close
Well,
enough.
that's your
Yeah.
story then. Yeah, it's
And
your
so, and people love to talk about that stuff. What are you smoking now? What have you been smoking? Oh, I used to smoke these, but they don't make them anymore, so I moved to these. This is a conversation that just starts happening, and it all starts with, hey, what are you smoking?
Yep.
I noticed, by the way, Ian, while you were talking about that Alan went for his second second portion,
Second
of
research,
the Fremont
endeavor.
Brewing Rusty Nail Barrel Aged 2019 release. There's not a lot of information on that bottle, but they do a special release every year. This is their 2019, and I believe that it's called Rusty Nail every year. I'm not 100% sure about that. But, Ian, I know you've done some research. Talk to me, brother.
I don't need the research. All I care about what's inside it. It is man.
Well, that's what
research.
what Ian refers to as research is basically while I tell
liquid.
everybody what the beer is, he drinks some. So,
It's my job.
Yes.
It's my job. If I do this because you're talking. So you're talking directly leads me to drinking. So
you're not the first person who said that.
That did not
You're
sound.
not the first person who said that.
I mean that in the best way.
Wow,
So
I just took my first bit of research here. Wow.
This is
lot of
it
flavor.
says the Rusty Nail Imperial Oatmeal Stout brewed with licorice with cinnamon bark added, aged in bourbon barrels. This is outstanding. It's delicious. It has almost no carbonation. It's incredibly sweet. It's incredibly huge on the palate. It finishes with a cinnamon spice and a little bit of licorice and a little bit of like burnt caramel bitterness.
Yes, definitely the burnt
Yep.
caramel.
This is absolutely one of my favorite liquid today.
This is as full flavored, not necessarily full bodied, although it is fairly big.
Apparently,
But it
my
is-
description worked because Adam had to come
Yeah,
get his
it is
version of it.
full flavored for sure. There's so much going on
the
here.
only thing for me that could have made this beer better
Yeah.
is drinking it around Christmas.
Well, it does have a very
I can
festive
see
vibe
that.
to it.
Yeah, it does.
I don't have to have dark beers around Christmas and then light beers in the summer. Now,
I don't either, but I just like
But no,
stouts.
I get what you're saying. I honestly, and I'm a part-time pipe smoker, and as much as I like this with the cigar, I would love to have this with a nice aromatic bowl of pipe tobacco.
a nice Q1 or 1Q, whatever the. Oh.
Like a Dan Tobacco's makes a blue note, or their vanilla one is so good. Would go absolutely fantastic with this.
Your thoughts on the Rusty Nail?
Well, the first sip I took I was not prepared for. It has all the flavor.
big.
And the description, I think, is very accurate. When you mention the cinnamon, yes, I know the cinnamon, the caramel at the end of it. It's a very full flavor, and I understand where you're coming from. It's got that sort of a Yuletide kind of feel to it. Maybe there's even a touch of nutmegishness to it, but the body of it isn't quite as heavy. But it has this aftertaste quality that reminds me of nutmeg eggnog, with a little bit of bourbon or whatever mixed into it.
Oh yeah.
So I'm getting used to the cigar with this. It's been an adjustment for me because this cigar, which was the second one that you gave me to try, this is the La Galera Maduro. This was so perfect with the rum. It was like they were born to be enjoyed together. I'm adjusting now because the flavor of this beer is so different from the rum, but it really I think works well with that as well. What do you think, Ian, on your cigar with this? I know you mentioned the pipe tobacco.
My cigar, unfortunately, was just finished. What was left of the flavor of it in my mouth goes well. I will tell you, I tried the rum and then the beer, back and forth.
And how did that work?
They do not go well together.
Yeah, I kind of
They're
had the
both
feeling.
great, but they are not for each other.
So we've had some cases where the beer that we're trying and the spirit really kind of enhance each other,
yeah.
one way or the other or both. And but I agree. This is not one. This is such a different flavor, and that's why I was saying I had to kind of adjust with the cigar because
Right.
my palate was really kind of tuned into what it was like to drink the rum and smoke the cigar, and this has been very different. But I like it very much. It's as complex a beer as I've had in a very long time.
It's a big beer. It's definitely. What is the ABV on it? I didn't even look. 13.9.
Well, there you go.
It's a little boozy,
Yeah, I'm surprised I brought that and not you.
right? Except for if I brought it, there would be stuff floating in it.
Yes, that's true. Chunks, which I'm, still adjusting to that. Well, so briefly, as we get ready to wrap up, Jason, my father, did you guys introduce anything new at IPCPR this year? What do we have to look forward to that's going to be new on shelves from you guys?
It's on shelves now. It's called La Promesa. The backstory to that is it is an old Cuban defunct label that they brought back, but it really is the fulfillment of the promise that Don Pepin made to his family and friends before he left Cuba, that I'm going to the United States and I'll do everything I can to be successful in the cigar industry and bring you guys, some pride.
It's an honor. Yeah.
And I think I think he's achieved that by
I would
in
certainly think
spades.
so, yes.
So he's not saying that he's arrived or he has nowhere else to go. He's saying that he's come here, and I think we can all agree he's been very successful in the business. He's helped to drive, I think, the Nicaraguan side of this industry. I think he's been a big proponent, big advocate for the Nicaraguan tobaccos
Which has
and
been
cigars.
the fastest growing region as far as
This is true.
as far as what's selling.
True, and there are many great cigar companies that come out of Nicaragua. But he, when you talk about growing all of his own tobacco, a lot of companies mix up different tobaccos, though they're made in. I kind of think of it like you mentioned a Ford car earlier. Is it an American car because all the parts, the engineering is German, the parts are from Japan maybe,
Right,
and
right.
it's manufactured in Mexico. In this case, we're talking really close to Nicaraguan Puros. Many of them are with his own wrapper leaf from his farms. Others may not. And we have San Andreas wrapper leaf. We have Ecuadorian broadleaf, etc. I mentioned the U.S. leaf that we have. But all of our binders and all of our fillers are 100% from his farms.
That's great.
So it's Nicaraguan, and I think that's a driving force. It's really brought the Nicaraguan tobacco to the forefront in this industry dramatically. And he's been doing this for 16 years now.
Do you have a favorite in the My Father line? Your personal favorite?
Well,
Go-to, maybe?
And people ask me that question all the time, and there's two answers. One is, honestly, it depends. To me, a cigar should fit the time,
Sure.
and the moment. So the cigars I like in the morning would be terrible for me in the evening, and vice versa. I kind of have a system that I follow. I start light in the morning, I kind of build up through body and strength, stair-stepping up. But if I had to go to one cigar, I'm going to the electric chair, and I get one last cigar. I think it would be the Don Pepin Garcia JJ Series Toro. It's always been my favorite. It's
Really
fantastic
good.
smoke.
Really good,
For
yes.
me, it's beautifully balanced. It's got just enough pepper flavor, which I like, without overdoing it. It's just a wonderful cigar.
And let me say, that is visually a stunning cigar, too. Like, that cigar is gorgeous.
Yeah,
Really.
they send us a box at Christmas, any box we want, and every
that's
year
fine.
I ask for that box of cigars.
Nice. Alan Denny, I know you've hinted at fun things to come. Anything else you want to add?
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
Well,
Nope.
let me just ask you this: if I were to be looking ahead on the smoking and toasting calendar, when might I want to think about joining you for a live show at a new location?
Sometime probably after August 15th.
Oh, that's sooner than I would have
Yeah,
thought.
so the gentleman that I'm going to be working with, they're full steam ahead.
Good.
The shop itself sits on Galveston Bay. It's on the water. They're having a very large wraparound deck built on the building, on the back of the building, which sits on the water. So you'll be able to sit. I don't know of a shop. Jason, correct me if you can think of one that literally sits on a bay or on a lake. I can't think of anybody. Right off the top of my head.
Galveston's going to be it, I think.
Yeah. So there's a huge deck. Moody Gardens is right behind us. You'll be able to watch the fireworks every night that they shoot them off, which is, if I believe correctly, it's every night at dark, Friday and Saturdays through the entire tourist season. Completely redoing the inside of this building to make it one of the premier lounges
That's
in
awesome.
the area.
And when you're in the area, if you want to take a little cruise on the bay there are boats that you can get on, and sometimes the captain shows up and the boat sails.
Yeah, right?
Every now and then.
Every now and then.
I want to point out, if you're not familiar with Moody Gardens in Galveston, when you're driving into Galveston from Houston area, that is one of the first things you see off in the distance.
That pyramid.
That pyramid that
yep.
they have out there is amazing, and if you haven't visited it, the butterfly exhibit is just stunning.
Well,
Yep,
the nice
absolutely.
thing about this shop is it's going to be directly on 61st Street. So you turn off at Broadway. If you're going to Moody Gardens, if you're going to Schlitterbahn, if you're going
If you're just going to the
if you're
seawall.
going to the seawall, if you're going to the pier, if you're going to the Spot, if you're going to any of the touristy restaurants that are down there, you have to pass by this
Nice,
shop.
nice. Well, you will have visitors soon after you open, I promise.
I look forward to it.
Alan, always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Always a pleasure
And
to be here.
Jason, thank you so much for doing this. This has been a pleasure. I'm glad we got to reschedule you after missing you the first time around.
Thank you very much. It's been my honor.
We appreciate it, and I've had two absolutely wonderful cigars today. These have both been just absolutely terrific.
Very proud of
So-
these cigar companies and their owners. They're doing wonderful things.
All right. So now we've had you on the show. We've had Tom on the show. Should we bother to have your other brother, or have we kind of covered the bases we need to cover?
Have we topped out on the
Yeah.
Poehler?
Oh,
dynasty?
everybody likes Ryan. I hate that guy. But, you should definitely have Ryan on here. We've also got a couple other great guys who are working with us. Albert Cisneros joined us 3 years ago, and Patrick Carmichael came on at the first of the year. So you'll see them around the stores and doing events for all of our cigar companies that I mentioned earlier. So they're wonderful people too, and they have a lot of retail experience. So they'll give you. They would actually be really helpful on the both sides of like Alan here, who's done retail and been out on the road doing the rep business. Albert and Patrick bring both 10 plus years of retail experience. They're very knowledgeable, and things greatly expanded beyond the cigars that we represent, because that's kind of where my focus has always been. Mm-hmm. But they know everything in the industry, so they'd be also great people. We could fill you guys up, your schedule up pretty well.
Well,
I love doing this show. I learn so much all the time.
Absolutely. And it's really fun being able to do a cigar-centric show. And thank you to Jorge and the staff here at Stogie's for allowing us to be a part of this.
Jorge, one last thing, because I know I won't be able to be a part of it this year. I'm sure EP Carrillo will, but the Wingding is already scheduled.
Yes,
So if you
tickets,
go to
I think, are
Stogie's
already
website,
available.
I'm sure there's not a doubt in my mind that my father will be there. But it's an event that not only do all the customers look forward to, but it's one of the. There's some of these multi-vendor events that we don't look forward to doing. Some of them are a pain. Some of them are a hassle. Some of them we do it because the owners buy a ton and we have to go. But
I love them all.
Yeah.
absolutely, he does.
He could say that because he's not going to be a rep anymore.
Jason and Ryan love all of those.
We love all of those events.
Well,
but the Wingding is the one we always look forward to,
Absolutely.
because there's the parties here at Stogie's, there's the after party at Stogie's, and it's one of those times, kind of like IPCPR, where for the most part, all of the Texas is a weird market compared to other markets.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty much all friends here, or at least we're friendly.
Yes.
Most of the reps.
I've noticed that.
I agree with that. That's one of the best parts of being in this industry.
Yep. And so it's really nice. These big events are the one time or a couple of times a year where we all get together, and Stogie's is a great one because there's parties before the event, there's something for us after the event,
Right.
plus we're all together at the event, and it's a great event overall. So
And one more thing about events, I will mention that the new and improved Whiskey Sniff is being planned
I was fixing to ask
as
about
we
that.
speak. So we will be bringing you more info on that in the weeks to come on the show. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being part of the program today. Thanks to our producer, Adam, on the Wheels of Steel. We appreciate you joining in with us, and thank you guys
Adam's
for
not paying
watching and
attention.
listening.
Very good.
And as we normally say, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Keep smoking.